Law enforcement suicides are at an all-time high right now. One of the causes is poor leadership within the law enforcement profession. Nick, the host of the Roll Call Room podcast, has written a book, Police Mental Barricade, A Survivor's Guide to Poor Law Enforcement Leadership. This book is a raw and powerful look into suicide and how poor leadership decisions contribute to law enforcement suicides. Buy the book now at mentalhealthbarricade.com and stop the stigma.
The issues discussed on the Roll Call Room podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. Any characters discussed on this show may be fictional for comedic value unless you're a shitbag Steve. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised.
A lot of people say, "Oh, I just want to sort of." They're kind of dabbling in the idea of improving themselves, and the real way to do it is you got to write down what the fuck you want and then go after it. If you decide, I'm going to get down to bang, I'm going to do this, I'm going to run a marathon in less than 5 hours, I'm going to, whatever the fuck it is, you got to write that shit down and go for it.
Well, my workout I schedule every Sunday. I schedule everything that I'm going to do during the week. I say I have to do yoga 2 times this week, I have to lift weights 3 times this week, I have to run twice this week, and however I fit that in, I fit that in, but I owe those things. And you don't need 2.5 hours. You can get a great workout in 40 minutes, and that's all you need for the whole day, 100%. Yes. This idea of time, like how much time did you put in today? Like, you could work out in a bullshit manner for 2 hours and not get nearly as much done as you can for a half hour hard just running. So I have to get those things in. The only exceptions are injuries and sickness. I do everything that I can to put my body and my brain in a good place so that I'm keeping my engine smooth. I'm changing my oil, I'm changing my spark plugs, I'm making sure that it's operating. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but I know that I've done my best to keep it working the best that it can. There's consequences that you pay to constantly seeking comfort and avoiding discomfort and avoiding hard work. And those consequences are you're never going to feel self-realized, you're never going to feel like you accomplished anything, you're never going to have this feeling of understanding that difficulty and struggle and the ability to push through that is a muscle, and you develop that muscle by doing it. And once you do, you develop a lot of self-satisfaction, and you develop peace of mind, and you understand that you can overcome obstacles. If you don't have to overcome obstacles, you never know whether or not you can. Unless you are faced with actual adversity, you don't understand how you're going to feel and how you're going to react when you overcome that adversity. Fine. Things that are difficult, when you do these difficult things, you're stressing your mind, or I should say, not even stressing your mind, exercising your mind and exercising your body's ability to manage intense situations. It's hard. It's very difficult. It's very testing. And in doing so, you lessen the stress of regular life. The more stressful situations that I experience, the more I understand what they are and the more I can relax. But it's also like a matter of constantly being exposed to these stressful situations where there's not a long break in between doing stand-up or a long break in between martial arts training where to the point where anxiety can build up, and then once you get into it, it's almost an unusual situation instead of a usual one. What I tell people is the best advice that I've ever heard, the best advice I ever came up with, is that live your life like you're the hero in your movie. And right now is when the fucking movie starts and your life is a shitbag disaster. Pretend you are, right now, you are in the part of the movie that starts and it shows you as a fucking loser. And just decide not to be a loser anymore. Live your life like there's a documentary crew following you around and you are analyzing your own behavior. Do what you would want to do so that your kids one day would look back at it and see that documentary and look on it with pride, like, wow, my dad was a bad motherfucker. He really did what he had to do. Wow, my mom really got her shit together. I love a success story, but even more than a success story, I like a dude who fucks his life up and then gets it back together again story. Those are my favorite stories. And the way to do that, you gotta write shit down.
You got to think that you are the hero in your own fucking movie, and then you got to sit down and you got to write shit down. Write down what you need to do.
You're listening to the podcast that changed the game and rocked an entire profession. Talking about shit in law enforcement that keeps poor leaders up at night. When others run scared and hide behind fake policies, the Roll Call Room podcast tells it like it is. No bullshit. No matter how hard these thieves try, we keep killing it. And now, here are your hosts, Nick and Mike.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Roll Call Room podcast. My special co-host today is Logan. Logan, how are you?
Doing well. I still got that music really loud in my ears. There we go. There goes the volume. What's up, man?
How are you doing, buddy? So we had that bumper
good.
made. We got to have you put on there, man. We had that made like a year ago, and I've never used it.
That's
yeah,
dope.
I love
like
it.
That.
It's like,
as the kids say, it's bussin' for real.
What are these new words, man? Like, my wife said something to me the other day in the car with my daughter in the car, and she was like, "What's the onion?" or "What's something?" And I looked at her and I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And she's like, "My wife is like, you gotta get hip." Like, I was like, "How about we just use fucking plain English?" Like,
yeah,
like I don't say those words. Like, that's crazy. But pleasure to have you on, buddy. It's been a while. We've revamped Roll Call Room. Logan is a permanent co-host on this show now.
finally
filling in, and also when we can get Mike on at the same time, so we can dispel some of these conspiracy theories that you are actually Mike and Mike is actually you. Those are the rumors that are going on.
Yeah, I actually just have a skin suit in my closet that I put on, like, and I zip it up,
and then
I,
you have
I
to
become
like
Mike. You know what? I put on a New York accent.
Hey man,
I drink my coffee.
New York. So I had this episode almost didn't happen, Logan, today. I had a serious incident earlier in the day. I forgot to text you and let you know.
Chipotle?
So no, actually no.
Oh.
That usually is a serious incident. But I was cleaning my car and I had my garage open, and I did find classified documents in my garage.
Was the garage locked?
And full transparency, no. It is where I store my Tesla, and I'm ashamed. So I did have some classified documents from my old agency, naked pictures of some commanders and other things. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I take that classified documentation very seriously, and I have handed everything over to no one. So,
well, you know when the cow jumps over the moon and the toaster's on fire, we all need to band together. Now listen here, Jack. This is serious. This ain't a joke. God, that dude's got applesauce for brains.
That it's almost comical what's going on. Like
it's sad. Is what it is.
It really is. Like between the Speaker of the House votes, the classified documents, and then the governor of Illinois signing this new bill, this AR-15 plan. Do we want to talk about this for a second,
dude? Like, well, the fact of the matter is because there's all the sheriffs too that have decided. There's like 15 or 20.
More than that, that came forward and said, "I'm not enforcing it." It's going to get cops killed. It's going to get cops if they try and enforce it. First of all, it's unconstitutional.
Yep.
And I almost feel like
they should withhold their oath, though.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be going in and take it like that. That's what you swore to not do.
Right. And I almost feel like it's a part of the anti-cop kind of movement, which is that now that we control them, now we can have them do things that's against what their oath is, and break them down in the sense of breaking down their ethics and what they believe and their oath and all that other stuff. But it's going to get cops killed if it's enforced. And those of you that have not heard about this, the Illinois governor has taken it upon himself to sign a bill banning AR-15s, which in essence gives police departments the ability to confiscate these AR-15s. Or I think you have to register them, or
I haven't read into it.
Yeah, I haven't really
100%,
read in.
but
Either way, one, you can't force people to register a legally owned gun that they've already purchased. They've already gone through a background check. It's part of the Second Amendment. So it's a trick bag. And then when you're using law enforcement and the sheriff's department and to go confiscate these guns, it's the silliest fucking thing. So it's like, I want you to go to this house where we know that there's a gun that I want you to take from this person. And if they own this gun, the majority of them are very, very aware of what their Second Amendment right is. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have some serious fucking issues. Like
it's going to be like, I mean, look at what, if you really, really dig into like what the ATF and everything did, look at Ruby Ridge, look at Waco. Like it's absolutely insane. The Waco show was really good. I enjoyed it. I think it was on Hulu.
Yeah.
That was very good. But the fact of the matter that they, the fact that they went in all because they thought they had sawed-off shotguns, and they did all of that because, that's what it was over.
It was a UPS driver. It was a UPS driver. The UPS driver. The UPS driver, for those of you that weren't old enough for Waco, I was barely old enough. I think I was a teenager when that happened, and I really wasn't paying attention. All I remember is the amount of people that died. The compound went up in flames, and I know the FBI director, Janet Reno, she took a lot of heat because it ultimately landed on her. The UPS driver kept on delivering these packages, these firearms, to this compound. They kept delivering them. And finally he goes and he puts a report in, and our federal partners decide, hey, we're going to go with the UPS driver and go make deliveries. And everything was done in haste because they got the fake UPS guy that worked for the DEA or ATF. I can't remember which one. He got made. And so they were scared. So they rushed it. And like you said, it was all over sawed-off shotguns and the fact that they had an arsenal. Like it was a lot of weapons, like thousands of weapons.
I mean, was what's his name crazy? Probably.
He was, No, he was certifiably crazy. Yeah.
And was doing horrible things. Like
absolutely
terrible.
It was a cult. It was a cult.
It was. Yeah. But still, it didn't need to go that way.
Ruby Ridge
and everybody involved. Oh, Ruby Ridge was terrible.
Terrible. Like I it's been a while. Maybe I should watch that documentary again. But I think the guy that they ultimately sieged his house, he didn't get a pretty stiff penalty, did he? I don't remember.
I don't recall what he was actually charged with, because it was the same thing. It was over a sawed-off shotgun as well. And
was it?
Yeah, they killed his wife and I think his son.
His son went out to go walk the dog or something.
Yeah, that's how it all started, like the shootout or whatever. See, I wasn't old enough. I don't even, because I was born in '88, but I know about it.
Yeah, this happened in '92.
Yeah,
this happened in '92.
See, and that's all the stuff that started.
He was acquitted.
Oklahoma City bombing. Oh, he was acquitted.
Oh, I didn't remember that. Kevin Harris, Randy Weaver, and Kevin Harris.
Randy Weaver, that was his name.
Right. later acquitted. Civil suits against the wow. Yeah, see, so stuff like that. I mean, that the thing in Illinois, I mean, that is just the making of some really, really bad decisions. And
It's what they want.
Yeah, and we're not talking about machine guns. We're not talking about things that are federally regulated, where you'd have to, like, there's federal, like, I'm not really too, like, on the, I don't like calling them assault weapons, but like the automatic weapons that are regulated by the federal government, or when you're manipulating the stocks of the weapons, that's a different story. The federal law gets involved, and they're actually the current president is working around the Second Amendment by going after the federal law of some of these firearms. And again, that's why we have a Supreme Court. That's why, as a cop, if you're out there, it's good for you to read up with these cases, because these are things that you need to think about, because you've taken an oath to protect the Constitution. So you should be very aware that an order needs to be a lawful order.
It's going to get real interesting. And I think that more people do need to read up a little bit, study up on what's legal, what's not. It could get bad, and I believe that they're doing it on purpose. They want the bad to happen.
I think so too.
Because then they can say, "Oh, look at these crazy gun owners and everything." That's what they've said every time that something like this happens. Like you look at the shooting in Texas, Uvalde, Texas. Oh, this crazy right-wing gun owner, and then it turns out that the dude was trans and all kinds of stuff, and it's like, oh, we better keep that quiet. Every time that has happened, it has never been a right-wing person.
You know which documentary I just watched, and man, I got so many platforms. I really got to start writing shit down, because I'm just getting like early sets of Alzheimer's. But I watched the Vegas shooting.
My gosh! The one that had no motive and we know nothing about. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, dude, that was like, it was a very, very good documentary. I want to say it was 5 episodes long, and it was actually done by a survivor that was actually in the crowd, and he did a phenomenal job on it. And the country singer that the concert, he was in it too. So he actually interviewed, sorry folks, I'm not a country person other than like Chris Stapleton and barely Garth Brooks. I want to say
it was Jason Aldean, wasn't it?
There we go, that guy. And it was good because it told the story of, while he was up on stage, he thought that the crackling was somebody's guitar cord was shorting. And he was starting to look over and get pissed off at the sound guys until the security team told him to get off the stage. But that guy, man, the body cam footage from that, and again, you can't control somebody bringing 100 weapons up. Who would even think of doing something like that? Going to a casino and doing that? It's bizarre.
The thing that bothered me the most about it, and a lot of it has to do with people that were there and videos of it and everything, is that everybody was like, that couldn't have been a bump stock because of the rate of fire, the consistency of the fire and everything. There were guys that were like, that's a SAW, an M240 squad automatic weapon. And then, of course, all the pictures they showed up there were just, a couple of AR-15s and a revolver. I actually have some of the pictures from the scene itself.
And he so just fairly recently, the bump stock law that Trump had signed into law was overturned, and that just happened last week. The bump stock. It was
law. Stupid, anyways.
Yeah, it was not good. The thing that was interesting is that I didn't know how many people had gotten injured and how many people had gotten killed. Yeah. Maybe they had said it and I had forgotten, but it was like 60 people killed and over 800 wounded. 800.
But that includes trampling. They're including
Yeah.
the injured, like any injury that was involved. That does not mean that it was a bullet or anything like that. It's
so the bullet
trampling,
ones were,
everything.
Yeah, the bullet, and that's interesting that you say that, because I'm looking at the wiki now, and it says 413 shot, 867 wounded.
Yeah.
So more than half of those were from trying to jump over the fence and stomping on them. But when you look at the totality and how he had a bird's nest, he had two different windows that he broke out. So he had a west view, and he had more of an east view, because he picked a penthouse that had like a cone shape to it. And when you think about it, and when you look at the totes of magazines that he had in his hotel, that could have been a lot worse. Like, that could have been bad. That could have been really, really bad. Really, really
There's all
bad.
kinds of weird conspiracy theories about that. Like, that there was some arms deal that was supposed to go down and it went bad, and so he ended up doing that, and there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't like that and they had FBI, they had counter-terrorist FBI agents on that documentary, and the guy that went in there and like looked through his phone, and they did his data dump, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, this guy had absolutely zero motive. Like, he wasn't part of a terrorist organization or any of that stuff. Now, again, you don't know what to believe anymore, because I
find it hard to believe that somebody would do that without a motive. I find it hard to believe.
And if there's any of our federal partners that are listening to this, I'm sorry, but you guys haven't put a big W up in a while. Like,
we don't really trust you. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you're raiding former presidents' houses, and you're like, it's
letting people in for the insurgency of January 6th, just letting them in the door. I mean, come on.
It's just, I'm not, I don't know, but I tell you, what you should be allowing trains to be run in your law enforcement agencies for recruiting purposes now.
Yes.
This young lady and her team, I don't know if you really want to call it a team. If you haven't been following the news,
it's so bad.
It's I actually thought I was getting punked. Hold on one second. So I'm reading this article, and apparently, where's Laverne?
Laverne, Tennessee.
Is it Tennessee?
It is Tennessee. Yes.
Yes.
It's outside of Nashville.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, those of you that are looking for a transfer, Laverne is now hiring
5.
Is it 5? Is it 5? The 5 males and her?
No,
5 males,
4 males and her.
4 males and her. So those of you that have had your head in the sand, what was going on was apparently there were 5 members of this department that were going to a party, not on site, not at the police department that we know of.
Well, it did say that she had sex with at least one of them while on duty, is what I saw.
Okay. Oh, so, well then, yeah, you're definitely fucked, and not in a good way.
Yeah, not the proper way.
Yeah. So apparently there were some hot tub parties that were going on. She was in an open marriage apparently, and
it's sponsored by Cucks Across America. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Laverne
this episode is brought to you by Cucks Across America. But it was not a good look, good look for that department at all. Not good. So they were throwing parties. I want to say that a supervisor, one of the 5 was a sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah, one was a sergeant, one was a canine officer, one was a detective. So it at least at least this officer, this female officer, at least she took the process to get into, they got into her process for canine detective. And at one point she put in for supervisor.
Yes.
And they've all been terminated. I don't know what and this is the interesting part is I don't know what the collective bargaining is. I don't know what union they have there.
Oh,
but this
man.
would be interesting if this was overturned, like this termination.
Can I be that FOP rep just to sit in on it?
I would fucking love just a deposition. Just a deposition. Like,
there's no way they'll fight it. There's no way.
I would.
This national, yeah, but I mean, it's national. Well, yeah, okay. I would too. I'll give you that.
Well, here's the thing. Let's break it down because, roll call room, we're all about like poor leadership and all that other stuff. But let's break it down to what's a fireable offense and what's not. Okay.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
If it's off duty and she's doing the fucking.
Yeah, but if you have a clause in there that talks about
morality,
morality clause, that sort of thing. I mean, it's
always a fucking catch, man. Always a fucking
there is.
catch.
Yeah.
God damn it. Can't even have a fucking sauna party with a fucking scissor fist fucking Eiffel Tower.
Pinch and
without
roll.
Somebody ruining it. Like,
the thing about it is as many memes as I have seen about it. Oh my gosh, this lady
has a lot.
Oh my gosh, there's tons. And it was really, really, really funny in the beginning when all the memes started. And there's still a whole bunch that are fantastic. But when it all boils down to it, A, she knew better.
Oh, yeah.
And B, C, D, and E, they all knew better.
Oh,
like
100%.
I don't know if it was taking advantage of who she was because she was a female trying to get to fit in or whatever it was. And I know that through speaking with, guys that have had, because I only had one female on a police department that I ever worked on. So I didn't have a lot of experience working with females, but other guys that I know that have worked with females, they were like, a lot of them tend to be a little more promiscuous, which is shocking to me, I guess. I don't know.
In your department, you didn't?
I mean, I only had one. So to me, I didn't really experience a whole lot of it.
Well, I can tell you from experience from my old agency, there were many, many stories. I witnessed many, many different things. We had a police association hall that was basically like a frat house, like a VFW,
Yeah.
So
yeah, we have had like an FOP here.
Right.
Fraternal Order of Police. It's like a lodge.
There you go. So the department was so
Is that a
old.
cat?
Yeah. Well, one of my cats is down to jump up here. Yeah. So we own the building that it was in, and we paid dues, and you go there, and there's a bar in there, and there's beer on tap, and all that. So yeah. So that association, there have been many trains run there. There have been many field training officers that were male that have taken females back there and have give constructive criticism to
oral interviews.
There have been many officers that were married outside, sleeping with each other, on duty, off duty. And the thing that's very interesting is it's always the ones that are letter of the law kind of officers that are then doing that.
They're the ones that tell the rookies the two things that'll get you in trouble is a woman's ass and a whiskey glass.
Yeah.
And then they're doing both.
Oh, and they're definitely doing both. And I'm only one in my head keeps popping up from my old agency, and it's this this dude that is, I won't use names obviously, but it's this dude that was just an absolute dick to everybody, just an absolute asshole to everybody. And you would always find his cruiser parked like outside of the apartment of this fairly attractive new officer that just started in the police department almost every night. And it always made me laugh because this is the guy that treats everybody else like shit. And you're not worried about like one of these people that you bully and that you treat like crap going back to your wife or getting around in the department.
Yeah.
And then there were many instances where a lot of people knew that stuff was going on at my old agency. And it was just kind of like, you know, it happens, you know, it's like.
That was a pretty big agency, though. When you guys had a couple hundred.
I'm sorry. Did you hear that?
Did I hear what?
Oh.
No.
My sound effect didn't work. I was playing a choo-choo train in the background.
That's awkward.
Yeah. Folks, I promise you it would have been funny because I found this like really old like steam choo-choo train sound and I had to fight laughing because I was trying to use that. But you know, here's the thing: is Jesus, I'll tell you this: I feel for the female officer in the sense where I think age and inexperience.
Yep.
Probably came into play with this, in addition to feeling like they needed to fit in, or I don't know. I don't know, but it's definitely was not a good choice. It was not a good decision. And if it was me, young lady, I would have resigned rather than be fired. Oh wait, I've done that. I've done that. So yeah. I can tell you from experience, it's so much easier to leave on your own recognizance than leave like being fired. Because the unfortunate thing is she probably will never, ever, well, I can't say that. I can't say that. There's always a department that will take her. There's always somebody that will give her a chance. And if she's not, then she'll work in the jail or some shit like that.
It was just a tough spot all around. It's been rough to read about it because, you know, looking at it from like I talked about before, it was funny in the beginning. Yeah. All the memes and everything is funny, but from my aspect, from a mental health aspect, I'm like, she's got to be crushing herself.
Oh, she's got to be destroyed. Yeah. Yeah.
And all the guys probably are too. Like up front, they're probably really, you know, brash about it, but inside, you know, they're killing themselves. Because they got found out.
For her, and for her, and I guess, you know, the thing is you don't really think about it while you're doing it. Like, you don't really think about like the damage that you're
from doing. Experience or what?
I will remain.
You don't really
quiet.
think about it while you're doing it. You know,
yeah,
it feels good. You know, just the tip, and then I'll refrain from commenting, but I will tell you that you know. I'm sure she fully regrets it now because now I have seen pictures of folks following her to like get the scoop, get the story. Like paparazzi?
Yeah. Like I saw a picture.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I saw a picture today of them following her around and trying to get a statement from her, and you know.
There's the choo-choo train. Thomas the Dank Engine.
I'm not gonna lie, like if I was in like my local grocery store and like she was shopping in like the deli section, I would totally have this on my phone and just like stand next to her and be like
holding a pepperoni, an uncut pepperoni.
Uncut pepperoni. All aboard, lieutenants and above. Okay. But yeah. So enough about the choo-choo train, Eiffel Tower. I wish them a lot of luck. If you want Alexandria Virginia Police Department where I used to work. Just give them a call. I'm sure they'll hire you. So, what I wanted to talk to you about, Logan, what cruiser did you hump when you were an officer? What cruiser? What make and model cruiser was your rig, as they call
My
it?
first was
Ooh,
the final
first.
year, 2011, a Ford Crown Vic. So it was the final year of the Crown. So it was a great car. I had it for 2 years, and it had a rebuilt engine in it too. We called it the submarine because the guy that had it before me, you see a road that's got water across it, and he's like, I can make it.
No, he didn't. Did he?
He goes into the water, and he stopped. And then he got freaked out, and he turned the engine off. So then all the water got sucked up into the engine.
He's got to be a captain by now.
Oh, he's off. I think he works for probation now, actually.
Oh, okay.
But so they rebuilt the engine, and I got this vehicle, and it was great, man. That thing was a snowplow. Like,
yeah,
we got through all kinds of stuff in it.
Do you get snow where you are, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what do you think of the Crown Vic in the snow?
It's a snowplow, bro. That thing will go through anything. Yeah. Like, I never got stuck in that.
My favorite with Crown Vics was you knew that they were coming. Mm-hmm. So if you were in trouble and you called out for help, you knew how far out the person was because you could hear a Crown Vic from a fucking mile away.
For sure.
Like almost like a John Deere. Like it had a
giant engine.
Sound. Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a boat, man. I remember like the trunk space in that was like, you could fit like,
glorious.
Oh, it was amazing. Amazing. And great heat and air conditioning during the winter. Yep. and
the original Cool Cops were only made to fit in Crown Vics. You remember those? The
correct.
Hose thing that would run from the AC unit and you drop down in your vest.
It's your vest, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They still
those
make
were
those.
Made just for they still make them, but that was like the OG.
Yep. And the back seat came the ass part came out in one section. So you pulled that whole section out.
It was a bench seat.
Subdivide. Yeah, and no plastic shit, no plug at the bottom. So when somebody took a shit, pissed, or threw up in your car, enjoy that.
That was the worst
that's
part.
a gift that keeps on giving.
Keeps on giving all year round.
What'd you get after a Crown Vic? What was your next one?
So I went from a Crown Vic to a 2014 Explorer, which was the second year they had them.
Yeah,
Explorer. And it was nice. It was that the Taurus body one.
It
was the newer one.
Right.
And I loved it. And that was actually the one that I almost got killed by, like, the dude. You remember the whole story about when I almost got killed and I was laying out stop sticks and the Mercury Mountaineer came flying at me and destroyed my Explorer. He hit my car, the Explorer, at 107 miles an hour. It left its position at 47 miles an hour and rolled and did all kinds of stuff. I'll have to send you the pictures again, but it does not look like an Explorer after that. And then I went to a Charger. And then I transferred to my other PD. I didn't like the Chargers. I felt like they were too spaceshipy. Well, they were small on the inside.
A couple of things about the Charger. So my old apartment went full in with the Charger. I think in 07 or 08, we went full in. Like we replaced all we were phasing out the Crown Vics and we went to the Charger. And what the Charger did, what Dodge didn't tell law enforcement with the law enforcement model is that the gas tank was right underneath the driver's seat. Mm-hmm. So one of our officers got hit and the car erupted in flames. She got T-boned and it erupted in flames. And the other thing is the early models of the Charger, they had Mercedes-Benz transmissions. They were garbage. So my old department, we purchased, I think, like 15 or 20 of them. And that's a lot because we were kind of small department, 300. And one by one at 50,000 miles, these fucking transmissions were blowing. Like one by one.
It's all that back and forth, backing it up, going for like
Yeah, the Chargers were very jerky. They were very like when you put it into gear, it had a lag. So if you were running radar and you were trying to whip around and get somebody, that transition from park to drive, and then if you had to make a broken K turn, from drive to reverse, back and forth, was very jerky. It wasn't smooth like
it
a
did
Crown
have
Vic.
like a lot of shift shock, didn't it? I
Right,
remember that.
Remember that? Yeah. And it also, when you pulled it into drive, it wasn't an instant transition. It wasn't.
Yeah.
You put it into drive, you put your foot on the gas, and you went like a Crown Vic, a Taurus. There was a lag, because I remember going after somebody, slamming it into drive, put your foot on the gas, and it was like a second. A split second before you kicked into high gear.
Just charge up the RPMs.
Yeah, and that's what it was. You would see the RPM go up, and then it would jerk. It would lunge forward, and then you took off like a fucking rocket ship. And I think they fixed that later on. But I know
the newer ones were nicer.
Yeah, I know my department just gave up. They were like, we're not fucking doing this. We'll just stick with Taurus and Explorers.
Yeah. Now the all-wheel drive Chargers were really great. I liked those, but I just didn't like the inside. So I went from that Charger. Yeah, I didn't like the inside.
The Charger interior sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. I got into
that, and then I transferred to my other apartment, and I went back in time and went to a 2009 Chevy Impala.
Ooh, that's NYPD style right there. Yeah.
It was horrible. Like, and that was the year. So it was like one of 4 that were of this year at the PD, and the newer ones were 14s. And mind you, this is 2017, so we weren't the most well-funded department.
But still, that's pretty good.
It was horrible. They had this this thing in it that it was designed to quote unquote save on gas. So when you were idling, after idling for 10 minutes, the engine would turn off.
Oh, that's safe.
And like the battery would still be running and everything. And then it was supposed to restart after 10 minutes of being off, and they would run for another minute and then turn off. Well, the problem is that like all the flashy lights and everything would turn off. And then like when you're trying to be sneaky or whatever, you'd be walking by the car and the car would turn back on and the headlights would pop back on. And it was the worst thing in the world. Dumbest idea I've ever heard of. But they were doing anything that they could to save money. And I was like, take this piece of shit out of my piece of shit car.
I got you beat, because just before I left the agency, NYPD was having a lot of ambush attacks, and across the country they were having a lot of ambush attacks. I think there was one in Louisiana, and so some company, I know who it is, but I'll just say some company in their infinite wisdom comes up with this ambush alert system for the cruisers. And so before I left, I had a brand new Explorer. First time ever in my whole career I ever had a brand new cruiser. And what it was you put this, you click this button, and it was an ambush thing. And while you're doing paper in your car, if somebody came up behind you or around in the area and the sensor detected it, everything went off. Your windows automatically rolled up. Your lights flashed. The emergency lights would go on top of the car. And then the siren would go, like, let out a yelp. And to me, which I thought that was the dumbest thing for an ambush, because it's like, hey, look at me, look at the Christmas tree, like,
yep. And between that and it locked the doors.
Yes.
Here, let me trap you inside this coffin even more while you're being shot at.
The worst part is like I think it was like the middle of summertime, so I had just the driver's side window rolled down so that I can get some air in while I'm doing my report, and I'd have my elbow on the screen, on the thing, and then the window would roll up and fucking like hit my elbow, like, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it scares the ever-loving shit out of you. And I remember saying to myself, like, how the fuck do I? So I ultimately figured out how to disengage this thing from happening. So I never used it again. I thought
it's so dumb.
great premise, great premise, but that's not what you need. Like you need.
If you got bulletproof windows, yeah, it's a great premise. But
yeah, and even NYPD, I think that like half of their front window is glass.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. I think the doors are, and the half of the window is bulletproof. So, I think LA started that way back with the bulletproof doors, but not the windows, which is very weird. Very, very weird.
Yeah.
So after you have the Charger, what else? What do you get? Anything?
Well,
you had.
I went to the Impala, and then I went from the Impala to Tahoe, which I loved the Tahoe.
Love Tahoe.
Like, I love the lots of space. I'm not a huge guy.
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot 220. But I like a lot of space.
Tahoe.
I loved my Tahoe. And then I went from the Tahoe and I ended up in a Taurus. That was my last car, which I loved the Taurus.
Did you?
Oh, it's fantastic. I loved it. It was fast. It had good handling. Of course, I was in a really small city, so I mean, it was nice.
Fast, but for space, I think a Mini Cooper probably would have been a better option. For space. Oh, dude, it was terrible.
I thought there was a ton in there.
No. Trying to get a fighting suspect in the back of a Taurus?
Oh, no, it was easy. The way we set them up, it was great. They did a great job.
Let me ask you this. Did you have half a cage or full cage? Like, did you have
It was a half cage.
So did we. And we had tons and tons of issues with getting people into the Taurus. Maybe in Virginia.
I didn't like the half cages because you couldn't drag them in.
Correct. I'm exactly.
That's why I didn't like them.
I hate half cages. I fucking hate them.
It's a great idea. But I want to be able to drag, because they can fight all day long and you can only push so hard. It's like, fine, somebody fucking go around and drag them in, and that ends it.
And the other issue is with the half cages, what newer officers don't understand is that part, that section that's open behind you on the driver's side, what they do is they use that for their for some of their duty bags. And what they don't understand is the partition doesn't go all the way down and hug the floor. So if you're not paying attention, a suspect can actually grab stuff from underneath that partition and pull it.
Yep.
So I was constantly, as a sergeant, reminding folks, don't store your tactical gear back there. If you want to put your raincoat back there, you want to put something that's accessible like a traffic vest or something like that, that's a different story. You have a full fucking trunk. Use it. I was not a fan. I had a Tahoe as a sergeant. It was the greatest car I ever had.
Yeah, I loved it.
And they tried to deadline it so many times. And every time they tried to deadline it, I was like, please don't deadline it. Please don't deadline it. And luckily, it wasn't until I left the department the first time was when they took it away and they deadlined it.
Our PD wouldn't do that. They would quote unquote retire the car, but then they would take pieces off of it and put it on the other cars to keep the others alive.
So for us, the one great thing about the city that I worked in was they would only keep cars to 50 or 60,000 miles, and then they would put it up on Gov deals.
Shoot.
Yeah. So they were constantly turning up. I mean, they had a large budget, so they were constantly overturning cars. And then I think towards the end, before I left, then they started to change that. I think it was like 8 years or 80,000 miles. And so the big thing is if you wrecked a car, they weren't replenishing that car until the next fiscal year. So you would down a car for a whole entire fiscal year. And it didn't matter whether or not it was your fault or the other person's fault. It's just the way the cycle worked. And so the fleet sergeant was always getting pissed when people were totaling cars because at one point, I think we had 5 totaled cars and 5 down. It was a big fucking deal.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And Impalas, our department, the only people that drove Impalas were detectives, mostly because
retired police cars.
They're retired police cars, or how much room do you really need to go from here to Chipotle?
Right.
Not really a lot,
And then to second breakfast.
Yeah, second breakfast, and So what I did was I took some time just before this episode, and I put some clips together, and I want to see if you're able to identify, and also the audience, if you're able to identify what car is what based off of the sound of the car. Okay?
I can do this.
So I'm going to do the first one. Okay? I think this one is a pretty easy one. This is a softball. Okay? Give it a second.
That's a Charger.
No, it's not the Laverne Police Department running a train. What was your guess?
That sounds like a Charger. Really?
No.
Is it a Crown Vic?
Hold on, I'm going to play just this part because it's a big tell.
Oh yeah, that's Crown Vic.
That's Crown Vic, my friend. Yeah, you got it.
That's a Crown Vic.
You got it.
Maybe my headphones were a little. I might have my bass up a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll blame it
than
on
I should.
Next one I'm going to give you might be a little bit difficult, but I have faith in you because you're not Mike.
Tahoe.
What'd you say?
Tahoe.
No.
Man, I'm terrible at this. What's that one? Is that one a Charger?
That's a Charger. Yeah. That's a shitty Charger. Yeah, it's a shitty Charger. I guess I should have given you an option of which ones.
Yeah, maybe that would have helped.
Because your favorite truck and my favorite truck is not in this. So just bear that in mind.
Well.
Okay. All right. So here's one more.
Man, that's a lot of wind noise.
It's also a really shitty engine. Like, thank God I never drove this car. It sounds like somebody's on their way to a hot tub party.
Yeah. Is that an Explorer?
No, that's going to be your Chevy Impala LTZ.
Oh.
I know.
Mine never went that fast. So,
I bet. I had it certainly wasn't a detective driving that car.
No, I think when I first got it, the 2009, it had like 135,000 miles on it.
Holy shit! That's like a taxi,
dude. It was ridiculous.
That actually was actual footage of the detective that came to my cafe that I used to own, from my old agency.
To serve you,
to serve me with paperwork. A letter. Please help us identify the person who raped another officer, and then try and bring charges against me for obstruction. That was actually actual footage of him driving. Could you imagine getting that phone? Before I go to the last one, could you imagine getting that phone call that morning and being like, "Hey, we need you to stop by Nick's coffee shop and go question him about an episode that he did about one of our officers raping another officer."
About an episode of a podcast.
Of a podcast. Oh, and by the way, we've already pre-wrote out this letter in case he tells you to go fuck yourself. We already wrote this letter and put it in an envelope for you to hand to him in case he tells you to go fuck yourself. And could you imagine being that detective and being like, you want me to what? You want me to walk into this guy's fucking cafe and tell him, we'd like your help to identify who this officer is? Unbelievable, dude. That'll go down in history. I still have that video saved on my phone. It's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. All right. This is my last one for you. Last one. Here we go.
I'm 0 for 3 so far.
Oh, it's just like Mike. All right, here it comes.
I want to say that one's a Taurus, but
Hey, you got one right, buddy. You got,
I
you
got
got
one.
Taurus. All right.
That was my last car, so that was.
That's not bad, man. That's not bad. It's hard. I was really
It is.
surprised that
It's
you didn't
harder
get the
than I
Crown
thought.
Vic. The Crown Vic is like very.
I should have
very
waited till I got that high pitched whine. That's
high
when you
pitch
know.
wine, man. That's
Yeah.
the boy. I'm loving this hot tub party scream.
Yep. Yeah,
You know?
for sure. On the way.
Yeah, I'm on the way. Don't fill in all the holes. What? No.
Don't
So-
Chinese finger trap yet.
Oh, don't do it. Tag team, brother. So
Dude, I've been watching so many random videos of like old school wrestling and shit. Like Randy Savage was on so much cocaine when he
my
did
God.
those bits. Like, oh yeah, Mean Gene's, there's a cup of coffee in the big time. Oh yeah, he just,
Yeah.
dude, he fucking cracks me up. Oh my
and
god,
I was into wrestling when I was a kid. Like,
so was I. It's fantastic.
yeah, I definitely grew out of it. Like, I couldn't
Oh, it's so
stomach
funny.
watching it now. Like,
It's so funny.
I can't do it, man.
The cream
cringe.
always rises to the top. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was always like, you could like, he was so like his muscles were like bulging, and it was as a
Between him
kid,
and Ultimate Warrior.
yeah, yeah. Ultimate Warrior was like that guy.
He was ripped.
He was ripped and definitely on coke as well.
Oh yeah.
Because like you would just see him and his muscles had a heartbeat. It was like ridiculously jacked.
Yeah. He's flexing his eyeballs.
Yeah. I think a lot of them are gone now, right? Like a lot of them are dead.
Ultimate Warrior's dead. Macho Man Randy Savage is dead.
Yeah. Didn't Hacksaw Jim Dugan just save somebody's life or something? Right? I just just a couple of weeks ago. He just saved some
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Man.
Yeah. He came in with like a 2x4. Think about that, bro. Like
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake. Did you see his documentary?
Who was the guy that dressed as a cop? What was his name?
Laverne.
I can't remember his character's
Chief?
name.
No.
Right. I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember. I remember The Undertaker. I remember
his documentary is fantastic. The Undertaker.
I've not seen
fantastic.
That. Jake the Snake. I saw. That was pretty sad to see. How bad his life turned out to be. Like a lot of these guys are not like The Rock. Like they were making nothing, man. That like WWE
look at
or F, whatever it was called.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, Hulk Hogan's the same way. Like, I mean,
he
built up
money away.
He did, and he, he got caught in some sort of sex video or something where he was,
with
like
radio
dropping the N-word and all kinds of stuff. Like,
that'll do it to you, man.
Dude.
That'll fucking get you canceled every time, man.
Every time.
Work orgies, the N-word. Those are pretty much the third rail, my friend.
Yep. Yeah. And I always used to say, in law enforcement, you can lose your integrity. There's two things you can lose and never get back: your integrity and your virginity. Pretty much it.
I like that. But I could tell you, I think it was my upbringing from New York City is I never got heated to the point where I never really engaged in any like back and forth with people that goaded me on the street, like enough for me to like have a rage moment to say something that I never really did later on. No. And I just never understood officers that just engage, like even if after the person's in handcuffs, I would just like as a sergeant, I would be like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
it's done.
We won. Yeah. Like relax.
They're going to booking. Like
there was, oh my God, we had this, he was a reject from our neighboring department. Of course we take him, because Well,
Of course.
they didn't like him, so we're going to take him. And
Yeah.
he was absolute dog shit. And we were at the scene of a potential pointing of a firearm. And I'm sitting there getting information, and these women are upset. They're loud and yelling and everything. And I've calmed people down. I'm the OIC on for the night, and I'm like, "Hey, so what's your name?" And I'm getting their information, and she's talking to me, and this other guy had gotten there before me, and she was like, "Well, I'm glad that you're really nice because he's kind of an asshole. He's a dumbass." And he goes, "Takes one to know one." I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And she was like, "Fine, I'm not going to tell you anything." So then I didn't get any information on who was there. And I was like, "You fucked this up for everybody." I was like, "Get out of here. Get off my scene." I was so pissed. And then he ended up like 2 weeks later, colliding with another person in a car crash and totaling 2 vehicles, and he got fired. But still, like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are you 10? Takes one to know one," he says.
I was on another podcast. I was doing a guest spot on a podcast, and at the time that happened in my old agency, there was one of these hold police accountable people that approached a couple of people from my old agency. 6:00 in the morning, he's walking his dog. They're all grouped together. They're all on midnight shift. And he goats them. He goes up to them and he's like, "Hey, why is everybody all like piled up in this parking lot? Isn't there a crime out there?" That kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And this one female officer completely takes the bait. She goes, "It's a police matter. None of your business."
Oh.
So, of course, now the guy's got the flame lit.
Yep.
And he goes, "Excuse me, I'd like your badge and your name and badge number." And she fucking throws her notepad on the dashboard, slowly comes out of the car. She approaches him. She's got an attitude. It just so happens that the sergeant is 3 cars down from them, gets out of the car. Well, this dude used to work for me before he was a sergeant. He worked for me as an officer. And it goes from bad to worse, Logan. Goes from bad to worse. This guy's like, "You think it's right the way that she spoke to me?" And he's like, "Well," the sergeant's like, "Well, I'll have a conversation with her, but I don't think you belittling her and you talking to her the way that you talk to her helps either." And it gets worse. So this guy, he starts walking around the cruisers. He's filming inside the cruisers. And these officers are like, "You can't film inside the cruisers.
You don't have an expectation of privacy in open windows."
It gets worse. Dude, it gets worse.
Like,
this guy goes to lean on a cruiser, and an officer pushes him off the cruiser. Oh no, Logan, it gets worse. So
stop being stupid.
Yeah, he walks away from that officer and goes to sit on the hood of a car, and it happens to be the sergeant's hood. And the sergeant gives the order to the officers to go ahead and arrest him for disorderly conduct. Yeah. So again, he's walking his dog. So where do you think the dog went? Animal control until he gets out of jail. An unlawful arrest. Sues the city that I used to work for. Still suing the city. I just found out the other day that sergeant got fired or resigned. One or the other. That doesn't really make a difference. No reprimand for the female officer that started it. No reprimand for the officer that pushed them, which is assault and battery in Virginia. Nothing. No repercussions whatsoever. So they lay it all on the sergeant's shoulders. Bad decision on the sergeant's part? Absolutely. Does he deserve to lose his job? Absolutely not. Demoted? Absolutely. 30-day reprimand? No pay? Absolutely. Terminated? Forced to resign? Absolutely not. But the guy, he's obviously going to win whatever lawsuit if the city doesn't settle with him. And knowing the city that I worked in, they settle with everybody. They're going to settle with him. And it's just that poor decision making. It was very upsetting to see, especially a lot of those, all the officers, I didn't know any of them. So they have to be 2 years or less on. So
yeah,
this is the new culture, man. And my old agency still doesn't have body cameras. So you knew he was taping you. Yeah. They refused. The city for the city that I worked in, for some odd reason, they're cheap in that department. They refuse to pay for body cams.
I loved my body cam.
I wasn't a big fan of them in the beginning, and now that I've seen that it's cleared so many more officers than has actually hurt, I'm all for it. Like I think it's fantastic.
It was just proven to people and to my former chief and everything that I do my job right. Like that's all it was. I loved it.
Well, it keeps you honest too. I think it's one of those things.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be what keeps you honest, but it certainly is a tool that keeps you honest. Because, and you can certainly tell, because I've had interactions where I've interacted with officers outside of being in law enforcement that have had body cameras on, and you can see where they want to turn around and do that or say that thing,
and
they hear that beep, or they look down and they see
they
that
feel the vibrating. Yeah, mine vibrated.
Yeah, it recalibrates their brain, and they're like, "Not today, ISIS. Not today." and I think, I don't think it really would have helped in this situation that I just spoke about from my old agency. I don't think it really would have helped. I think it was a bad situation that just got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, those First Amendment auditors and all that stuff. It's just annoying. All they're trying to do is get views on YouTube, and it's like, just get in your car and drive away.
But the thing is, it's incidences like that are softballs for them, man.
Oh yeah,
this guy's going to get a 6-figure payout at least.
Yep.
For I don't know what, 48 hours worth of work. Well, when it's all said and done, 48 hours, a couple of hours in jail. Sure, he got released on his own recognizance.
Yeah.
Hey, shit, I'll take a night in jail for a 6-figure settlement.
Yeah, no kidding.
Heartbeat. Yeah.
So are we going to go to Virginia and start filming cops? Or are we gonna...
I will tell you this: when I'm done with the next book, which is Police Mental Barricade Volume 2, I've decided to tape the commercial in front of my old police headquarters.
Ooh,
which is on public property, and I will have a tripod and camera set up, and then I will have somebody off to the right with a phone camera taping the whole entire thing, and I plan on doing the entire 5-minute commercial or promo right in front of my old police headquarters.
Nice.
And that'll be the kids' college fund.
There you go.
And I say that, and nothing's going to happen because I know that there are still many, many people from my old agency that listen to this. So if you see me out there, come say hello.
Is this one going to be double spaced too, so the commanders can read it?
Yep, double space, probably improper grammar. It's going to have a lot of curse words in it. So the folks that are cop book raiders, or I don't know what they call themselves, they're cops themselves that buy books and then take it upon themselves to tear down the books. One of which I unfriended because they went after a fellow author of mine, somebody that I actually respect, went after their book. And I just find it funny that there are folks that criticize instead of do, try writing a book. And then the other thing is it may be rosy in your department. That doesn't mean that it's rosy in everybody's department.
Yep.
And the attacks from this particular person was against one of my books and one of my heroes' books, which was too negative. It's too much cursing, too negative. Everything was too negative. Well, I'm happy for you that the 2-3 years you've been a cop, everything's been fantastic. In 10 years, come look me up and tell me how many times you've taken 3 fingers. That's my answer. I'm just saying, it's all rosy and fantastic when you agree with everything. But the moment you start to see that there are cracks in the wall, come look me up.
Yeah. Why
But yeah.
do you have such long rubber gloves? Why do they go all the way up to the elbow? Let me show you.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You mean the specialized unit that I want to put in for, that I've worked so hard for, and I've become a subject matter expert in that particular field, I can't get because this person you like more? That's ridiculous.
Interesting. So you're telling me that when we're having tryouts for this special unit and it's cold as balls outside, and I go through the obstacle course and the shooting and everything, and I do fantastic, and I'm the only one that makes the time, and then I stand outside and help everyone else get their uniform on and their helmet on and their vest and everything, well, and all the other people are standing on the inside of the building getting warm and toasty, and then you tell me in the interview that I'm not a team player? Oh, okay, I get it. All right.
That's what's going to happen to that particular person. And then they're going to turn around and they're going to go, oh, shit. That's what Nick was talking about. That's what Travis was talking about. What we're bringing light to is we're not trying to make books that are 100% negative. What we're trying to do is bring light to the fact that this happens across America. It's happened to a lot of really good cops, and good cops are walking away from the job because of it. And if that's not the case, congratulations. Your department is fantastic, and it's an anomaly. But I highly doubt it. I really highly doubt it, because I'm sure Laverne PD was doing fucking fantastic until that scandal broke.
Oh, everybody was feeling good. Morale
was real high. Okay. So, Logan, what you got going on in the future? What do you got? What do you got going on in the background? I do enjoy watching your fitness videos. It does make me put down my crumble cookies.
Those things are like 500 calories a cookie, bro. Those are so good. Love me some crumble.
I have a problem. Like,
yeah,
they just opened
it's called
one
diabetes. That's your problem.
It's coming.
Diabetes.
It's coming. Alzheimer's, diabetes. What else? The gout.
You're gonna have a goiter in your neck.
Goiter? Yeah, that's where I want to have it. What else? What else am I gonna have? Probably heart failure from my Pfizer shot that I got.
Yeah. Probably have blood clots or something.
I probably looks like fucking. I don't know. I couldn't even think of a funny joke, but it probably looks really bad in there.
Anyways, but things are going really well. I work in the private sector, so now I moved out of sales and business development. Now I'm actually within the inner workings of the company that I work for, and so I deal with our DOT compliance. So our truck drivers and our big trucks and everything, and our insurance and all that. They made this role for me because I didn't like sales, and they were like, we don't want to lose you, and we need somebody to create this role and build structure to it. I was like, that's all about it. So, they threw me in there, and then I get to do some employee development too. So like leadership training and everything. They were like, you're really good at this. So I'm like, I'm filling both buckets at work. It's fantastic.
Do you feel fulfilled?
Yes.
That's good.
I haven't been this happy going to work since like 2019. Like I love what I do.
Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't that feel really good?
Dude, it's great. And so I've been coaching wrestling for my son's wrestling team, which we had a tournament today. We brought home bronze, which was a big improvement from last week.
That's so awesome.
It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm still into physical fitness. I'm coaching now. Shameless plug here. I do some nutrition coaching. So if anybody needs some help, I work through First Form. Check out my Instagram at Little Hollow Life. I do some coaching through that. It's fantastic. I've got 10 clients right now. We're going through some transformations, dude. I'm just having a blast. It was one of those things where last year I was like, I need to do something that I've wanted to do for so long, and that is to get into nutrition and physical training. And I pulled the plug on it, and I love it. It's so much fun to help people try and get the keys back to their life.
Yep.
Because it's taken, it took you 50 years or 20 years or 10 years to get that fat. You have to realize that it's not going to take you 10 days to lose it all. Like, it's going to take you a while, and just teaching people about it. It's been awesome. So Dude, things
Well,
are going great. I'm
I'll
having
tell
a
you,
blast.
you and I, we've known each other, I don't know, what, 2-3 years now, right? Like, you were a fan of the show. You
Since
reached out.
2020.
Yeah. So almost 3 years.
Yeah.
You were a fan of the show. You reached out. You and I just kind of clicked, man. And it was interesting to see you through the end of your law enforcement career. I knew you weren't happy. I knew you were in a bad place, and I really was very, very honored that I was able to kind of help you through it, and actually you helped me through my stuff, because at the same time that was going on, I was truly struggling behind the scenes of leaving law enforcement. I was really trying to find my place. I was at a terrible job when I left law enforcement. I took a job just to take a job. Kids need healthcare. You got to get a job, you know? And so you helped me through my stuff as I was kind of helping you. And I will tell you that the last 2-3 months of watching you on social media and stuff like that, you seem more happy now than ever that I've known you in that 2-3 years that you and I have known each other. So what you're doing is
I'm
working.
definitely happier.
Yeah,
man.
I could just tell it. I tell it. Jeez, God, my English is so terrible. This next book is going to be like fucking written in Braille.
Who taught you to write a chicken?
Yeah, like, your books are so negative. I'm sorry, I just can't get off of that. But I will tell you, it's absolutely a pleasure to see it. Like, even when we logged on to do this episode, you're definitely, you're glowing, you're happy. And,
that's just because I got some lights on.
That too. You have like this halo lighting going on where you look like just the earth is coming down. But anyway, I'm excited. The Roll Call Room podcast is definitely reinventing itself. You're a permanent staple on that whenever we can kind of coordinate. And folks don't understand when you're trying to get folks together to do an episode. It's so easy.
Hard.
It's so hard when you have a family, and I think I'm more busy now with where I work than when I was a cop. Only because my responsibility is so much more. Shit, I had to take a break in the middle of this episode to take a work call. So I just proved it. But I want you to be on as much as we can get together.
Yeah, for sure.
I want the trouble. I want the Mike, you and me on there and do an episode. So shameless plug. Check out Logan's social media at
for sure.
Hollow Life.
Little Hollow Life.
Little Hollow Life. Sorry, not mine.
Yeah.
Little Hollow Life. I love it. I love your videos. Those are always fun. Those always used to make me laugh when you were a fan. And we would say shit when you were on your run, and we would fuck up. We would fuck up your run because you.
Oh my gosh, I'd be blowing snot out my nose because I was laughing at the. That was how I found you guys. Was when I was doing 5Ks and stuff, because it was COVID and the original the 3 years to flatten the curve, and I would go on runs, and I found Roll Call Room podcast, and I'd throw on a podcast, and like there was one episode. It was the one where you're talking about doing the pranks. And do it like switching the paper out in the copier machine and this lady getting so fucking mad. I was dying. I was literally blowing snot out my nose. So keep in mind, this was in like the first 3 weeks of COVID being serious, and people are seeing me running down the street laughing and crying and snot blowing. So they like were probably crossing the street to avoid me. It was so funny.
I watched a short video that you did way back the other day, and it made me laugh. Like I saved them, and I watched them every once in a while, and it had been a long time since I watched it, and it was that run, and you were out of breath, and you were like, these two guys, thank you for fucking up my run. And it was just funny, because that's always what we've tried to do. And I think the new RCR, the direction that we're going to go, is more of like talking about current events, sort of in a comical way, but also kind of reminiscing about the old way that things were. And the reason we want to do that is hopefully some of the newer officers that are listening to the show, they can start gaining some knowledge and some perspective of the way that we used to do things. because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of veterans on anymore that can teach you that skill set. And veterans now is like 5 years on, which is fucking scary.
Yeah.
It's so scary. It's so scary. And I'll tell you one thing.
30-year guys anymore. You're not going to have it.
I'll tell you one thing before we sign off. This happened to me yesterday. I'm at Target, and I have a handicap placard for an undisclosed reason. I have a handicap placard, and my plates are not from the state where I am. So I have the handicap placard. It's a Virginia handicap placard, and I come out of Target, and I go to the driver's side door, and there's a police business card wedged in my door. And the first thing you're thinking when you see that is, who fucking hit my car? That was the first thing I hit, because we used to do that. Like, hey, I tried to get in touch with you. Somebody hit your car. Here's the case number if you have any questions.
Yep.
So turn the card over, and it says, just so you know, as a reminder, your placard does not work with out-of-state tags. Update your tags to your placard so they match. And I'm like,
wow.
Hold up. Like, did they change the law in Virginia since I left being a cop? And so I doubted myself. So I'm like, hold up. Wait, that doesn't make any sense, because if I rent a car, let's say I get into a car accident and I rent a car, and that rental car has an Arizona tag on it, but I have a Virginia handicap placard. You're telling me that I can't use that Virginia handicap placard? Or if I go on vacation to Florida, my Virginia placard is not valid in Florida? So the more I started to think about it, the more I was like, what the fuck? Like, this just doesn't make any sense. And so those of you that don't know, I said it before, I drive a Tesla. And so Tesla has 360.
He's wearing a Tesla shirt right now.
I am. You get it when you spend that kind of money. Anyway, So Teslas, if you don't know, they have a 360 degree cameras around the whole entire car, and it films everything. So when you're parked, if somebody fucks with your car, you can go pull the thumb drive out, put it in your computer, and review it. And it's actually worked fantastic for a couple of things for me. So I'm totally baffled. I go home, I pull the thumb drive out. Now I'm fucking hot, like, because I've already checked the code and I know that I'm fucking right. So I check the camera footage, and sure as shit, here comes Deputy Doofy fucking pull up. Where does Deputy Doofy pull up to write me that card? He pulls up and parks in a handicap parking spot in a marked police cruiser to write me that thing.
Official police business.
Well, and I find out that he's a volunteer. He's a traffic volunteer, which I never even knew that was a thing. But apparently in Virginia, you can be the sheriff can not deputize you, but you're a volunteer traffic. So if there's an accident, they put a vest on you. You wear a uniform. They put a vest on you, and you lay out the cones, and you put the flares out and all that other stuff. So I review camera footage even more, and on the passenger side camera, I catch just before he pulls into the handicap spot, he does a traffic stop in front of Target to tell somebody that they're, how when you park in the front by the fire lane because your wife is just running in to get something, everybody does it. He does a traffic stop, which I find out they're not allowed to do. It's illegal. Like, volunteer traffic safety people are not allowed to do a traffic stop because they don't have a gun and they don't have a bulletproof vest.
Oh my God.
So I was like, I got to talk about this on the episode because I was so fucking furious. And I was more furious because this is the caliber that's out there right now. And it concerns me because you're writing $500 tickets. Luckily, I didn't get a ticket. Well, not luckily, because if a ticket had happened, this would have been a completely different story. But those handicap tickets are $500 a pop, and they're revenue generators for the county or city,
for sure.
So when you have somebody that's out there that doesn't even know what the law is, and they're writing those kind of tickets, that's scary. And then the other thing is that you got a rogue person out there that's not a cop that works as a volunteer doing traffic stops. That's a fucking red flag. That's a big fucking red flag. And
so did you send Special Officer Doofy an
no, I
email?
did not.
Or?
No, I did not. I did the next best thing. I was an adult and I reported it to the Rat Squad.
So no Yelp review then.
No Yelp review. Yeah. I did call the dispatch, and then the dispatcher had the sergeant on duty call me. And it was quite comical because it was like almost 3 hours later, this guy called me, and I was like, I already put an online complaint in through the Office of Professional, whatever the fuck you guys call it. And he's like, oh, do you mind me asking what happened? And so I started telling him what happened, and he's like, he did what? And I go, well, it gets worse. I said, I reviewed camera footage.
Wait.
He goes, you reviewed camera footage from Target? I go, no, from my car. And he goes, what was on the camera footage? I said, well, he parked in a handicap spot to write me that little warning. And he goes, he did what? And I go, yeah, that was my reaction. I said, not before I watched him do a traffic stop. And he goes, he did a what? And I said, a traffic stop. And he goes, where? I said, in the fire lane. The sergeant, I swear to you, Logan, the sergeant goes, well, that's not a traffic stop. I go at this. You know that the Supreme Court has determined that once you put your traffic lights on, that's a seizure.
Yep.
That's a detainment. You know that, right? And he's like, well, I mean, it's a fire lane. I go, you should.
Doesn't matter.
I said, listen, I'm not going to lecture you. I said, I'm not going to lecture you. But if you don't find that as a concern and you don't think that that's a seizure, you got a freaking problem on your hands, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, you know what? It's going to go above my head now that you reported it online. I was like, all right, have a great night. I was like, I can't believe I'm that fucking guy, but it really irked me. It really fucking irked me because I was like, for a second, for more than like 10 minutes, I doubted myself. Like I was like, am I breaking the law? And I was like, the more I thought about it, I actually had to pull my phone out and like look up on
Google it
on Google. And I was like, I read the code and I was like, then you get, what's funny is that when you know you're right, then you become so indignant. Then you're just like,
oh yeah.
Then you're just like, this motherfucker, who the fuck does he think he is?
And then you have those shower conversations. You're in there with your loofah like, oh yeah, you son of a bitch. You're going to write me a ticket.
I felt bad for my wife because like, I'm like berating her, but not, like I'm not berating her. I'm like, this, who the fuck does he think he is? He did 20 years of fucking law enforcement. Fucking write me he should have fucking wrote me a ticket. If he would have fucking wrote me a ticket, I swear, fucking. And then she's like, relax. I'm like, I went to the fucking police academy. I ran in the fucking rain, and this fucking 2.5 piece of shit. Dude, I was fucking livid. I was like, who the fuck does he think he is? Then I had to calm myself down because my watch, my heartbeat watch was like, dude, take it easy. It's a handicap.
You're about to turn green. Relax.
I was like, I just had to bring that up. I don't know, for no good reason. I just wanted to tell that story. All right. So how else can they get a hold of you, Logan, other than that? Just that? That's the best way to get a hold of you?
I mean, I've got, my Facebook, Little Hollow Life's the same thing. Facebook, Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but I'm not really on it. And I have a podcast as well that is also titled Little Hollow Life, which I'm going to be revamping again this year. So, there's some episodes on there from last year. Check them out. You might find some stuff on there that you like.
Cool. And folks, you can reach me at nick@rollcallroom.com. You can go on our Instagram, Roll Call Room Podcast, or Facebook, Roll Call Room Podcast, Twitter. You can sign up for our Patreon, kind of helps offset the cost for this bad boy and put some electric in the Tesla. And you will catch us on the next one. Have a great, great, great day and be safe. Okay.
Make good choices. Make make really good choices.
I want to be in Kano. All right, folks, take it easy.